Welcome to today's video insight. Today's insight is more about how thinking works, and I want to contrast proper scenario-based thinking with the default associative thinking. So yeah, by default we think associatively. That means I previously said that before, that our brain is literally a bunch of neurons associated with each other, and the default thinking process works similar. If neurons get lit up, the ones closest to the cluster that got lit up lights up as well. So nearness is very important with associative thinking, and sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense what gets associated with each other. So our thinking can be really jumpy. And if we don't pay attention to where it's going, we end up in a completely different place often with associative thinking, because just things get triggered, and they can really move us away from where we are and where we need to be with our thinking in a certain given moment. So yeah, so if you can really get carried away with associative thinking. I think you really have a sense of that already, but yeah, just I don't know. Let's say elephant, then gray. Elephants are gray and large. What's gray and large? I don't know. Maybe big buildings, concrete. Manhattan, there are a lot of tall concrete buildings. Manhattan, America first, Trump. So do you see where we jump from an elephant to Trump to politics to World War to cryptocurrency to wherever? That's associative thinking. It's just things are associated with each other. Elephant gray, concrete is gray, tall building out of concrete, Manhattan. You see where we New York, then Trump. That's really just associations and no clarity. It's just jumping around. So let's contrast it with a proper scenario-based thinking. Let's say, okay, you stand in front of an elephant. What would you do? So where are you? If you are in the circus, okay, maybe you would just enjoy the show, have your popcorn, eat there, and maybe you are with people there and have a conversation. But do you see, we are here in a scenario, and you could develop this scenario. What if the elephant, let's say he has water in his trunk and he spits the water in the audience, then you have wet clothes, it's cold outside, you think about, what do we do now? How do we get new dry clothes again? Do we need to go home now? Or so we can really develop a scenario there of things happening. We can add stuff like, okay, now our clothes are wet. What would we do there? That's opening up a space. We see more. And the same is, okay, let's say you are in front of an elephant in the African bushes or somewhere. How would you act? What would you do? Would you run away, or would you try to scream at it, or just stand still and do nothing? So, and then we say, okay, the elephant starts charging at you. What do you do then? We can really work with a scenario, and we see more. That's what I also said with that understanding is built by construction or interaction. And construction, scenario building, is a form of construction, and it gives us more clarity and understanding. And we can really build with it and see more. Then we can zoom in and chunk down what we said with the last video, instead of chunking up and just associations and stuff, we really go into a scenario and we add stuff and we move forward. We can go sideways, like with the water, when you have wet clothes in the circus. How would you act there? That depends where the circus is. It's a little bit, yeah. But if you are in another city, what would you do then? And you would go back to the hotel room, maybe change clothes, and then head out again, maybe. Yeah. But a scenario is something you can work with, and it's not. Things need to make sense in a scenario. You build on top of each other, and it's like reality based to some degree. So things should make sense to a certain degree to apply it to reality. But the cool thing is, with scenarios, logic applies to reality. So if your scenario premise is correct and you walk through the scenario with correct logic, the conclusion will apply to reality, and that is huge. That's a huge insight. So scenario-based thinking applies to reality if the premise is correct and you walk through the scenario with correct logic. Yeah, that's today's video insight. We want to do scenario-based thinking instead of associative thinking, which is going on by default. But if we want to interact with our mind consciously, we do want to think in scenarios, so we can construct things mentally and build things up and get more understanding that way and to see more mentally. Yeah, that was today's video insight. I see you in the next one. Bye bye.